Hey, welcome back. This is Andrew with Good Space High Performance Builders. Today we are here to talk about induction cooktop, induction cooking. We meet with a lot of our clients and we find they really don't have a lot of information about what it is really and where it's at now. And it's come a long way. So we just want to get that information out there, what we're seeing. And so we're here at Premier Kitchen and Bath with Nick Kress. He's expert specialist in appliances. I have tremendous respect for his knowledge and experience, so he's going to tell us a little bit about it. So why don't you fill us in with some of the history and where we're going with
Well, great. Thank
induction
you,
cooking.
Andrew. I thank Good Space for giving me the opportunity to talk about induction technology. Induction, a lot of people ask, how long has it been around? So the technology was actually developed in the 1870s. And the first real cooking product that was brought into marketplace was developed about in 1930. So it's been around for quite some time, but in the 1970s is when induction really took off and became available for residential cooking. Over the years, a lot of things have changed. And so what has happened primarily is that the technology has gotten better, the product has gotten quieter, more efficient, more versatile, and is become less expensive. So today, good induction cooktop will cost you more than a standard electric cooktop, but about the same price as a high-end or a good quality gas cooktop. So what's happening, and part of why induction is becoming very popular, is we are concerned about energy efficiency, about air quality, and gas cooktops put a lot of pollutants into our environment, into our home environment. Also, it's not very efficient. So induction is coming into play, and different government entities, municipalities are looking at all electric construction to where all the appliances have to be electric. So if the choice for electric is either standard electric cooktops or induction by far is the most efficient and most beneficial to the home cook.
Nice.
So another thing that is an incentive, and you need to check with your local municipality, is there are rebates available by many of the municipalities, and you want to check if you're converting from gas to electric or from a standard electric cooktop to induction.
Yeah, we definitely see those rebates. And one thing I want to add in when you're talking about the cost there from the construction side of it, if we're not putting in a gas line, then there's tremendous savings there. So depending if it's new build or remodel, that's certainly something to take into account, where if we're just running electric, that's a little bit easier and cheaper than gas, which is...
This might be a good time for me to mention, in case of a remodel, not new construction, if you are going to go to induction, you definitely need to talk to your contractor and make sure that you have the ability and you have the room in your power box for the higher amperage requirements of the induction cooktops.
Yeah, definitely. So this might be a good time to learn a little bit about the history and where the market's at. So what are the pros and cooking, and maybe you can get us a demonstration on actually using them would be really great to hear about.
So the pros of the induction cooktop, first off and foremost, is performance. I mean, the induction cooktop outperforms standard electric, outperforms gas in almost every situation. You have the ability to get burners that are up to 5,500 watts, and that's how the induction burners are rated, is in wattage. 5,500 watts is equivalent to the largest gas burners you can get for residential use. And so you're able to get those, yet at the same time have control from the highest highs to the lowest lows and everywhere in between. Now, in reality, the quality of your induction cooktop is going to determine the performance of the induction cooktop. But not only that, the pan that you use. We're going to be talking about the fact that the pan must contain iron or be ferrous, because the way the induction technology works is it creates an electromagnetic field. That field excites the iron molecules in the pan, and the pan becomes the heating element. The really great thing about that is that the pan is in direct contact with the food. So one of the pros of induction is that 85% of the heat produced goes right into the food, compared to 65% on a standard electric cooktop or 45% approximately on a gas cooktop.
Yeah, I see that at home if I
Oh yeah.
cook with gas and there's a little pot there and the heat's just going around the outside. So,
And that's what we talk about a lot on gas cooktops is you want to match the size of the pan to the burner. Well, it's no different on the induction cooktop. When you have a cooktop, you'll see those different size burners. You want to make sure that the edges of your pan stay within 1 inch of the inside or the outside of the burner markings.
Another thing I hear about is the safety differences between the induction and gas or conventional electric. What can you teach us about that?
Well, first and foremost, there's no fire. I mean, the bottom line is that, fire is very exciting, very impressive, but it's also, you have open flame inside your home. With induction, you eliminate that, and so it is much, much safer. Another feature that's in most of your induction cooktops is called pan sensor. Pan sensor means when I remove a pan from the burner, it will automatically sense that there's nothing there that's iron that it can react to. After a certain period of time, and it varies between manufacturers, what it'll do is it'll go to on and automatically shut off the burner. Another feature that's available, that's again depending on the manufacturer, is when your pan boils dry. If it starts to heat up, it'll prevent it from overheating. When it reaches a certain temperature, it'll turn the burner off again as a safety measure.
Nice.
This is very important again with the safety for children and also for people who maybe are a little forgetful that if they remove the pan from the burner, they're not going to have a situation to where the burner is going to stay on until somebody notices that it's still going.
Nice. I'm guilty of a couple of those things.
Oh, yeah.
The artichokes boiling dry and left the burner on before. We touched on indoor air quality at the beginning, right?
So, well, did we touch? We didn't talk about the ventilation. Maybe this would be a good time to talk about the heating and cooling the kitchen, which, again, for home efficiency, this is very important. You'll require less ventilation for an induction cooktop over a gas cooktop, which means that you'll have less heat exchange within the home. Which,
Makes sense.
as you said, make up air, which is code that nobody enforces.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're certainly fans of makeup air for cooktops, especially on the high-performance homes. But, and then cleanup, what does that look like on these cooktops?
So cleanup on these cooktops is very, very simple. One of the nice things, again, since the pan is the heating element, you don't have any heat source underneath that is burning whatever spills on the cooktop directly to the cooktop surface. So when you get done cooking, if you have oils or grease or anything on the cooktop, you wash it with soap and water. You do not want to use ammonium-based cleaners because they can leave a haze on the ceramic tile. Wash it with soap and water. Once you get done with that, there's actually a cream called ceramic cooktop cleaner or glass cooktop cleaner. You'll wet a rag or a piece of paper towel, put a few drops, wipe it on like you're waxing a car, let it dry to a haze, and just dry it with, again, paper towel or cloth, and it will absorb all the oils, remove them, and make it look like brand new.
Okay, awesome. And damage, is there a risk of damaging these? And
So
how does that play out?
it is a ceramic tile. So since it is a ceramic tile, there's always the possibility that you can drop something hard enough or hit the edge hard enough to where you can crack it. That's why you'll find some manufacturers will have a stainless steel trim around the outside, and that's to give you a little protection against hitting it from the side and cracking it. Also, if you have a pan that has a rough bottom, or even if you have a diamond on a ring or something and go across it, it's a ceramic tile. It can scratch. We call that character.
Yeah.
Over time, you'll have more and more character on the cooktop until the point comes to where you no longer can stand the character. And another advantage of the ceramic cooktop is you can replace just the ceramic tile and keep the integrity of the cooktop intact so that it's like brand new as soon as you put the new tile top on. And
Nice.
you don't have to replace it.
Beautiful. Love that. So another thing we need to think about is electrical requirements. We touched on that earlier, making sure there's space in your panel, but often if you're doing a major project, that's usually being addressed, but we need to think about it. They're generally 220 and anywhere from 20, 30, 40, 50 amps, depending which cooktop you get. Obviously, the more power, the more burners you have, the faster you can cook. So that's something to think about, but is definitely manageable. And yeah, I'm curious about controls, Nick. How do we work these things compared to
So
conventional?
again, induction is very high tech. I mean, so they have touch controls. Touch controls generally are going to have two systems, either a slide bar or power bar that you slide your finger across and that moves the power setting up or down, or you'll be able to touch it at a specific spot and again set it at a specific power level. Again, most of your cooktops are also going to have a lock feature, and this prevents you from being able to go through the controls while you're cleaning it, or if somebody unintentionally sets their hand on it, and you just hold that for about 5 seconds and it turns off. Usually there's an audible signal. Now, for those people that are more traditionalists, there are cooktops available that do have knobs. These are either fixed knobs or they have knobs that are magnetic and they can be actually removed, so when you're cleaning it or not using it, you can take the knob off completely.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Another thing that we were talking about earlier and was, again, the noise that's gotten better over the years. So all these cooktops have fans, cooling fans, and they've gotten to where they're virtually silent. And then again, depending on the quality of the cooktop, you could hear some buzzing, some vibration. And some of the better ones are quieter. I mean, it's a reality. But there's another thing that a lot of people don't know, and that is the quality of your pan. So if your pan is, say, a non-stick aluminum pan, and they put a layer of steel at the bottom to make it work on induction cooktop, you may get some noises from that because, again, there's sometimes air bubbles or spaces, and those spaces create room for the iron to vibrate, and it creates a hum.
Okay.
Even in some of your better pans, you may get some noises or some clicking, and that's because there may be an imperfection or a bubble within that. So noises are kind of inherent and shouldn't make you shy away from the cooktop at all.
Yeah, are we talking about how loud are these? Is it kind of similar to what you're hearing on your kitchen exhaust fan, perhaps?
Oh, no. I mean, it's a slight hum. We'll actually do a demonstration later, and you'll hear the hum on the burner. But, I've had some customers call me because it did bother them. And I've gone out with some of my pans, which I know are better quality. We put them on the cooktop, and it's eliminated most of the noise. So there's no cooktop that I've ever had available to sell to the public that's been too noisy to use.
Awesome. That's great information. So really making that pan purchase decision from the get-go is important.
It doesn't necessarily have to be an expensive pan.
Yeah.
It just has to have the right amount of iron and the right design to perform well.
Okay. And I'm guessing that fan that you spoke of is kind of like our laptops when they're working hard and there's a little
You
fan.
hear it a little bit, but it's not a noise that's intrusive.
Yeah, great. So Nick, I've heard about not being able to use all the burners on high. Is there an issue there, or what are we looking at?
So, depending on the manufacturer, there may be one or more field generators or transformers in the cooktop. And for every field generator, you can put a burner on boost, which is about 110% of power, normal power. But if you're on one that shares between two burners, when you turn on both burners, you lose that ability to boost one of the burners. Yet, if you don't boost any of the burners, all the burners have the ability to boil, a very vigorous boil, without being on boost. Boost is simply a method of increasing the power to get to a boil faster. But a lot of the cooktops have a timer built in to where after a certain number of minutes, it'll automatically go from boost to high.
Okay.
And that's simply because you don't need that extra power all the time.
Got it. So we're really not missing out on anything. It's just the ability to be in supercharged
Exactly.
turbo
It's whether
all
or
at
not
the
the
same
turbo's
time.
working. That's right. We're still going fast.
Okay, nice. Sounds like this induction cooking's great. Cons. There must be some issues there, or we want to make sure we're putting out good information. Are there any cons, and if so, what are they?
Okay, so the drawbacks to induction are really not insurmountable. First off, pans. The pan has to have a certain level of iron content in order for it to work. The more iron, the better it works. The way you can test your pans is to take a magnet. If it sticks to the bottom of the pan, I can show you real quick here, means that it's going to work. Even better, if it sticks to the side, that means that the iron is up the sides of the pan as well. That will give us a larger field of heat. The field from the electromagnetic field that's produced only comes up maybe a quarter of an inch. But even so on the pan, that gives you that much more surface for heat. Cast iron is solid iron. It's really the best type of pan that you could use on here. But with the traditional old cast iron pots and pans, the ones that we inherited from our grandparents, those tend to have a very rough finish on the bottom, and that can scratch the top. So we do recommend cast iron, but we want to recommend cast iron that is porcelainized on the outside.
Okay.
And there are varying qualities and varying pricing of pans, and you don't have to buy the most expensive pans to get very good quality pans.
Okay.
Another thing is that this is going to be, again, more expensive than an electric cooktop when you buy it, about the same price as a gas cooktop, but the cost, the energy savings you're going to have using induction will far outweigh any difference in cost within a very short period of time.
Yeah, because you're capturing most of that energy, right?
Absolutely.
Wasting it.
And then there's a last thing, health concern. So all the manufacturers of the induction cooktops will tell you that if you have a pacemaker, before you use it, before you purchase it, check it with your doctor to make sure that it will be okay. Your physician will be able to tell you whether or not you are going to be a candidate for using induction.
Okay.
So that's going to be very important. And the reason for that is electromagnetic field, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on.
Awesome.
I mentioned before, most of the cooktops have a lock that you hold for 5 seconds, and then you're an audible tone and it turns off. So I put a pan of water on here, and if you wouldn't mind verifying, that is cold water.
Yep,
Excellent.
that's cold.
So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it on, and you see it immediately, it starts reacting. I'm going to put on boost. So if you set your timer, you'll see that this will go ahead, and here we are at just 9 seconds. You're already starting to get the shy shimmer at the bottom of the pan, and that's the moisture, or the liquid is starting to move because of the heat that's being produced by the pan, and that was just in 9 seconds. So my goal is to have this boiling vigorously in 2 minutes or less. Now, we talked earlier about safety, so I'm going to show you a couple things that are very unique about induction. So the first off, I put a little something underneath the cooktop that you do not get to keep when we're done.
Yeah, I was gonna say it
doesn't come with the cooktop.
That's a big bill.
So what we're going to do is, you can see now we're at 50 seconds, and already we're getting steam and starting to get some bubbles to the surface. And that's another thing about induction that we should talk about, the bubbles to the surface. When you have a standard electric or gas cooktop, what happens is the water, when it boils, is not boiling the full depth of the pot. Usually the water is boiling for the first couple of inches, and then it bubbles at the top, but it's below boiling temperature. Mm-hmm. With induction, because the heating element is the pan, you get more heat in the water, so it boils deeper than a gas or traditional electric cooktop, and you'll get better results with pasta and boiling pasta for the right amount of time, rather than throwing it in and saying, okay, is it 4 minutes from now or from when it starts boiling again? Mm-hmm. So we are
there you go.
1 minute 40 seconds, and we have a pretty vigorous boil there.
Yeah.
And if you wouldn't mind pulling out the bill and filling it and telling me, is it hot?
It's warm, mildly warm.
But if that was on a traditional gas cooktop
you're done.
or electric, that would have been
Yeah.
done. Absolutely. So you can see here, and when this pan was over here, you can see the pattern of the boil. There's no boiling on this side.
So you're off that circle?
I'm off the center.
Okay.
So now when I move it over the center, you get the full boil. And this is also why it's important to have the right size pan. If I had a bigger pan, you would only be cooking in the center of the pan, cooler exterior. So this is boiling, and this is another thing I do not recommend you do at home. But we talked about the safety. You can see this is flashing, which tells me that the pan is no longer on there. But this surface, we were just boiling water there. If I did that to traditional electric or gas cooktop, I would be blistered at this point. Yeah. So even though I do not recommend doing that at home, it is a safety feature for maybe our kids or, again, our older loved ones, to where if they touch it by mistake, they're not going to get burned.
Yeah. Oh, however that could happen. Absolutely.
That's huge. So then you want me to clean it up. So I'm going to do a little something. Since we were only boiling water, I'm going to take a little butter and swirl it around the cooktop, which everybody loves to do at home. And let's get it nice and greasy, because when you go ahead and clean it with soap and water, now you'll notice also, I'm going to lock the cooktop, and this went off automatically. I'm going to lock it so as I'm cleaning it, I'm not going through the controls. So I wash it with soap and water, but even with soap and water, when you get done drying it, you can still have swirls. It's very hard to get the oil off. Mind you, I was just boiling water on there. And as you can see, I'm having no problem at all cleaning over the hot burner. So now, I got done with some swirls. So one of the final things is the ceramic cooktop cleaner, which comes with your cooktop or your range, but you can get it any store. You know, locally we have the CVS or Safeway or what have you. So you put a couple of drops, and just like waxing a car, what you want to do, take a damp cloth, and I'm just going to use paper towel, wipe it on, let it sit for a couple of seconds, and again, that burner, which was just boiling water less than a minute ago, because it was actually 4 minutes ago that we started even heating the water. But once this is done, I take some dry paper towels, and you simply take it off. And it will leave your cooktop looking good as new, no oil swirls or anything like that. And again, less than 2 minutes ago, we were boiling water there.
Excellent.
And it's already cooled down to a point where I should keep my hand on it.
Yep, cleaned up and back to doing whatever you want to do for fun, relaxing or entertaining, and it's beautiful.
So that's why induction really is the cooktop, not only of today, but of the future.
Well, thanks, Nick. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate the demonstration.
I appreciate it as well.
And I hope everyone out there got something useful out of this. Check us out at goodspacebuilders.com. Watch some of the other videos on YouTube, and check us out on Instagram, Good Space Builders. Have a good one.